Welcome back to Velshi and Rule. We are less than 36 hours from a possible government shutdown as the White House reviews the bipartisan border deal sent by Congress. So let's take a look at it. The deal includes nearly $1.4 billion for border fencing, no increase over the last deal, and less than what was being floated during the government shutdown earlier this year. But it's only for fencing. None of the money can be used for the president's prototype walls showcased in the California desert. The money authorized can only go towards existing technologies to create barriers, and it comes with a slew of other border security funding. $564 million for drug inspection at ports of entry and $191 million for construction at entry points, plus $100 million for security on the southern and northern borders and $127 million for security in the air and on the water. Importantly for Democrats, $414 million is allocated to address humanitarian issues at the border. And the committee funded 600 new customs officers. And since it is a funding bill, there's more than just border funding. It includes $1 billion for next year's consensus at 1.9% pay increase for federal workforce. Excuse me.
Census.
Census. What did I just say?
You said consensus because that's your personality.
Census.
You think consensus is the best thing that can happen.
Consensus and optimism.
Right.
Those are the words I keep
We didn't fund
making.
consensus in this country as much as you'd hope we do.
Census. Okie doke. A little more than $1 billion for infrastructure spending, $1.3 billion for housing programs and assistance for tribal health care and the opioid fight. And I want to point out, Ali, you and I talk a lot about debt, about deficits.
Yep.
One of the issues really above the deficit issue is our spending. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but when you spend the way that we do, it puts us in the hole that we're in.
So now to achieve some consensus, as you were hoping for, we actually have two people who might help us do that. Congressman John Garamendi is a Democrat representing California, and Congressman Tom Reed, a Republican representing New York. And whatever you think of these two guys or their politics, they are always talking about ways in which they can find common ground with the other side.
And you know what we think about that, gentlemen?
We think it's time for the bipartisan horn. Okay, you can stop now. Good to see you guys. Congressman Reed, the president has said he's going to find money for the wall. The issue, of course, that people are concerned about is if it's not appropriated by Congress, where could that money come from?
Well, first, I mean, obviously take care of this issue right now. We got to get this through Congress to the president's desk to get these funds flowing to the border for security enhancements. And I'm so glad that we moved off of just a border discussion. We went to ports of entry and other investments that are going to keep us safe from other issues. You know, there's going to be a conversation about money that's on the table from previous years, what is sitting here in Washington, D.C. that maybe can be reallocated to other projects on the border issue. And I think that's where the heart of this conversation will go next.
But, Congressman, to that point, Garamendi,
sure.
It's not just let's just get the president to sign this and then we'll move forward. If the president signs it, we've already seen some signals from some Republicans, Richard Shelby in a tweet last night, this is just sort of a first step to getting to the president's goals. The president's goals are to get a wall funded. So you're from California.
Right.
You need a lot of funding for disaster relief, for fire prevention. Are you not concerned that the president signs this and then he's going to be coming for money that you need in your state?
Very, very concerned about that. This has been in play now for more than a month that the President, Office of Management and Budget have been looking at ways of finding money on their own. That is literally appropriating money on their own to build the wall. We have a piece of legislation in that would stop one of the primary ways that they could do that, a 1986 law that does allow the president to declare an emergency and then go and take all of the Army Corps of Engineers civil works projects, many of which are flood-related protections for communities all across America, a lot of that in California. Hopefully he won't do that. That would set off a major brawl, a major fight, and certainly immediate lawsuits along the way. But there really is another way of doing this, and that's called follow the Constitution. Our task is to levy taxes. I know Tom doesn't like taxes, neither do I, but that's one of our tasks. The other is how to spend that tax money, and that's called the appropriation process. The president's responsibility is to tell us what is needed, and then for us to chew on it, to make a decision about whether it's this and that or how much for each one. That's called the appropriation process. In just 3 weeks, the president is going to deliver to us his assessment of what is needed. Put the walls in there. Put the other things that he wants in that.
And then you can debate it in Congress.
Exactly, over the next 7 months,
Yeah.
and come to a conclusion for the next year.
Yeah,
that's the good way to do it.
Congressman Reed knows that has not been, Congress isn't sort of record-breaking in its ability to actually, the president virtually never gets it on time, Congress never gets it done on time, but I will remind everybody that in the United States Constitution, it's one of the only things that they say that Congress has to do, and that is appropriations. Tom Reed, let me ask you about, we know about the 800,000 plus federal workers who went without pay. Some had to work, some didn't work, and what difficulty they had. There are more than 1 million federal contractors. Many of these people are people you guys run into every day, security guards, janitorial workers, and others. Some make a lot more money, but these are American workers as well. Tom Reed, what's the issue here? There seems to be a sticking point on giving federal contractors their back pay. Is that the president? Is that the Republican caucus? Where's that coming from?
Well, I think it's just an open question. It's a legitimate issue, and it just added another piece of the puzzle that was too far to get addressed in this negotiation. But they have legitimate claims. Why? I mean, if John and I were there, cutting every detail here, I think we could have get this resolved rather quickly. But at the end of the day, wasn't able to get there.
I don't mean to be sassy, but doesn't that seem like a basic thing to have in there straight out of the gate? Those are people who are owed that money from the government. How would that not make it in?
It's a fair question, and as to the negotiators, I'll let them answer that, why that was not prioritized. But to the point, this is highlighting, I think, one of the issues. To the prior comment you made, Ellie, was about Congress having to do its job. The failure of Congress to lead on these issues and solve this through the legislative process is the root cause of this issue. And I just hope we learned from this last 6 months that what we should be doing this proactively, working together, find the common ground, take 80% of a compromise position as a victory, not a defeat, and move forward for the future of the country.
Yeah, if I might add just one thing, not yet discussed in this entire discussion about border security, is the question of why is there people coming into the United States? Why are these children, why are these parents coming here? It's really, what's the problem in Central America? In the legislation, there's nearly $500 million for economic social development in the Latin American, Central American countries to go to the root of the problem, to deal with the issues there of crime, of social injustice, economic growth, and all the rest. That's a very, very important way to go to the heart of the problem, solve it before it ever comes to the border.
Fair point.
Tom, I want to ask you about Amazon, the decision to not build a headquarters in New York City. You were opposed to the subsidies provided when the plan was announced, although everybody kind of likes the jobs that it could bring in. Tell me where you stand on this now.
Well, you know, obviously, we'd love to see the economic development, love to see the jobs come to New York, but it highlights a bigger problem. When you're giving $3 billion of taxpayer money to one company, I think it begs the question, what are you doing for the existing businesses? Where's the tax relief and the investment opportunity for those businesses that have been in New York for generations? I prioritize them over going towards one project over another and picking winners and losers out of the state capital.
Congressman Reed, yes?
I was just going to add, the richest company in the world doesn't need tax subsidies. They want to do something. They certainly have the resources to do it. Spend the $3 billion, perhaps, on issues Tom and I could really agree with. Training, education.
Infrastructure. Yeah.
Congressman Reed, how would you feel if Amazon changed their mind and said they wanted to come to your neck of the woods? They wanted to come to New York, but rather than New York City, where we do have a housing issue, we don't really have a jobs issue, and many of your constituents could certainly use jobs.
What I would say is the cost of living up in our area of New York is much different than New York City. There's a ripe opportunity to come here without $3 billion worth of tax relief. What I would be advocating for is long-term, let's rise all boats by reducing the tax burden in New York, get our spending under control, and therefore you can make these investments not because you're picking a winner or loser because of political context or because of some type of market share that you potentially bring to the table.
Congressman Garamendi, just want to get your thoughts. We now have, it's official now, the Senate has voted to confirm William Barr as the new Attorney General, 54-45. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are concern. a lot of anxiety on my part, and I suspect on others, about what would come of the Mueller investigation. There's a lot of discussion. Just one of your previous sections here went through some of that discussion. We really have to know what happened. And frankly, we've got a task here in Congress that we need to carry on, not in a political way, but get to the facts, get them out there, and see what actually happened, and then try to figure out how to prevent this from ever happening again. But the Mueller investigation has to go forward. Barr should in no way ever stop it. And also, the public needs to know, America needs to know, it cannot be kept secret.
See, these two guys are proof you don't need funding for consensus. You can just have people
You
who are
got that
actually
right.
prepared to do it. Guys, thanks very much for joining us. Congressman John Garamendi, Democrat of California, Congressman Tom Reed, Republican of New York. Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.